We spend a third of our lives with our eyes closed, lying in the dark, completely trusting that our bodies know exactly what to do. You turn off the lamp, pull up the blanket, and assume that because the house is quiet, the machinery inside your chest is finally getting a break. I operated under that exact assumption for decades. I believed that sleep was simply an off switch. You flip it down, the engine stops running, and you wake up fixed. But I learned the hard way that the difference between resting your heart and secretly torturing it is incredibly thin. And most of us cross that line every single night without ever knowing it. My name is Harold Bennett. I am 81 years old. I grew up back in Ohio, where my father worked the line in a manufacturing plant, and I spent my own career in community health education, trying to make medical information useful for regular working folks. I live out in Scottsdale, Arizona now. My wife, Margaret, passed away a few years ago, and living alone gives you a different perspective on the silence of a house at night. You start paying closer attention to the creaks in the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, and the rhythm of your own breathing. You realize that keeping your independence as you get older is entirely about maintenance, but the maintenance I was doing was completely wrong, and it almost cost me everything. A few years ago, right around my late 70s, I started having terrifying mornings. I would wake up abruptly, sometimes at 3 or 4 in the morning with my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I could feel it in my teeth. My sheets would be damp with cold sweat, and I would be gasping for a breath that felt like it was stuck in my chest. I would sit on the edge of the mattress, waiting for my pulse to slow down, telling myself it was just a bad dream. During the day, I felt like I was walking underwater. My blood pressure, which had always been manageable, started climbing to levels that made my doctor raise an eyebrow and write new prescriptions. I was doing everything right during the daylight hours, but I was losing ground rapidly, and I had no idea why. The answer did not come from a machine in a clinic. It came during a Sunday afternoon visit from my daughter, Laura. She works as a registered nurse, and she has a habit of watching how people breathe and move when they think nobody is looking. I had fallen asleep in the armchair on the porch, and when I woke up with that familiar jolt and a loud snort, she was staring at me. She asked me how long I had been sleeping flat on my back, snoring like a broken chainsaw. I waved it off, told her it was just the Arizona dust making my allergies act up. She did not smile. She pulled up a chair and told me I was quietly suffocating myself every night. Laura explained something that changed how I understood my own body. When we sleep, the muscles in our throat naturally relax. But as we get older, or if we sleep flat on our backs, those muscles can relax so much that they collapse inward. It is exactly like stepping on a garden hose. The air tries to get through, but the pipe is pinched shut. For 10, 20, sometimes 30 seconds, your lungs get nothing. Your blood oxygen drops like a stone. Your brain, realizing it is starving, hits the absolute emergency panic button. It dumps adrenaline into your system, the same chemical your body produces if you are about to be hit by a car. That chemical jolt forces your throat open, you gasp, and you fall back asleep, completely unaware. Your heart is forced to pump furiously against high pressure to distribute whatever little oxygen is left. And if that happens 100 times a night, your heart is not resting. It is fighting a war in the dark. Before Laura explained that mechanical failure to me, I had tried to fix my exhaustion the way most people do. I went to the pharmacy and bought a bottle of over-the-counter sleeping pills. I figured if I was waking up tired, I just needed something to knock me out deeper. That was the most dangerous mistake I could have made. Taking a sedative when your airway is collapsing is like putting a blindfold on the night watchman at the factory. The pill relaxed my throat muscles even more, making the blockage worse, and it dulled my brain's ability to wake me up when I needed air. I was artificially keeping myself asleep while my heart was drowning. I threw those bottles in the trash the day Laura explained it to me. But the breathing was only one part of the equation. My son Daniel, who is a physical therapist, helped me understand the environment I was sleeping in. Arizona summers are brutal, and I grew up with a frugal mindset. I used to keep the thermostat up around 75 degrees at night to save a few dollars on the electric bill. I thought a little heat never hurt anyone. Daniel explained the thermodynamics of the human body. To enter deep, restorative sleep, your core temperature has to drop. If the room is too hot and stuffy, your body has to work overtime to cool you down. It dilates the blood vessels near your skin and forces your heart to pump harder to push blood to the surface so you can sweat. Instead of slowing down to idle, my heart was running a double shift just to fight the thermostat. And I was fueling that internal heat with another terrible habit. Back in Ohio, dinner was always the heaviest meal of the day, usually eaten late after a long shift. I had carried that habit for 50 years. I would eat a heavy plate of meat and potatoes at 8 o'clock and be in bed by 10. Digestion is an incredibly demanding physical process. It requires massive amounts of blood flow to the stomach and intestines. When you eat a heavy meal and lie down, you are forcing your cardiovascular system to operate at maximum capacity. The heart is pumping hard to process a feast when it should be repairing the damage from the day. Not to mention, lying flat with a full stomach pushes acid right up the plumbing, irritating the throat and making the breathing problems even worse. For most of my life, I believed that sleep was just idle time. In the manufacturing culture I knew, needing only 5 hours of sleep was worn like a badge of honor. We treated our bodies like machines that could run endlessly. But sleep is not idle time. It is the maintenance shift. It is the only time the factory shuts down production so the crew can clean the floors, repair the frayed belts, and oil the gears. When you cut your sleep short, you are firing the maintenance crew. The damage accumulates. The arteries get stiffer, the inflammation builds up, and eventually a gear snaps. I made changes that were simple but profound. I bought a firm wedge-shaped pillow that forces me to sleep on my side, keeping the plumbing in my throat open and clear. I lowered the air conditioning to 68 degrees at night, accepting that a slightly higher electric bill is the cheapest heart medicine I will ever buy. And I moved my dinner to 5:30 in the evening, keeping it light and easy to process, giving my engine plenty of time to cool down before I lie down. The human body is an incredible piece of engineering, but it requires respect. After 60, the little things are what matter most. The body does not ask twice in the same way. It whispers with morning stiffness and afternoon fatigue long before it shouts with a hospital siren. You might be sitting there thinking that your snoring is just a nuisance, or that your late dinners and hot bedroom are just personal preferences. You might think it is too late to change how you sleep. It isn't. The independence we want to keep tomorrow is protected in the small, quiet habits we build today. You do not have to wait for the machine to break down completely before you start taking care of it. Try changing one thing tonight. Cool the room down. Sleep on your side. Eat a little earlier. Give your heart the quiet, cool, peaceful environment it desperately needs to do its repair work. Let the maintenance crew do their job. I'm going to go adjust my thermostat and get ready for the evening. Take care of yourself.